Okay, this is just a quick example of how to wire this wire sprinkler timer. So this is the front yard setup that I made the other day. Front yard setup. It's just basically a setup that where there's two valves set up that are running off of a single timer. Now, what happens if you had to run an additional set of wires to the backyard, but you wanted to run off the same box? Because I mean, you could actually just pigtail into here, or not pigtail, but you actually just run the wires into the clock and run a totally separate set of wiring, which is something I will cover on another video. But in this case, what do you do if you want to run from, let's say this is an irrigation box and we want to run this, say it may be, I don't know, 20 yards away. Who knows how far away it is, but it needs to run into, say, for example, the backyard, whatever it happens to be. So how do you tie into this and wire up the clock to be able to make that work? Well, first you got to establish the fact that whether or not there's enough extra wires. Are these wires spare? If we go all the way back to the clock, we're able to see there's two spare wires that match this color, these colors here, and there's nothing else in here. So we know that these are running all the way. We were able to establish the fact that these wires run to the front yard. So in this case, let's add on what we'll call the backyard, which will be just a single valve that I'm going to show here in a couple of minutes. So what happens is you would have to get you'd have to be able to tie into the wiring. Well, first actually we'll start with the clock. Let's call it yellow. We'll make number 3, which will be what we would consider our backyard, and make sure that when you strip this, you don't strip too much wiring off so that it only touches the contacts and doesn't do any additional or touch anything additional. So I'm going to loosen that up, push this into where it belongs, hold it in place, tighten it down firmly but not over tighten because you don't want to break it, because I've seen these split before. And this is just a spare clock either. I'm not saying use this particular clock for anything, but this is a very basic example and they all work exactly the same. So we'll call number 3 yellow, which will be the, as I stated, the backyard. So in this case, we've got the front yard common running to run here. Okay, so it's got these two are the common wire to be able to run. Basically, one goes to each valve, which supplies the valve solenoid with power. Then we've got the control wires, which are one of these to each valve. So now that we're going with number 3, we need to run this and this into the backyard. So to be able to do that, I'm going to bring over my nifty extra piece of wire. We'll assume that that's like 20 yards long, but since being this is just an example, I'm going to use just a short piece. So we will fold out of the way the ones that we are not using. We are using the yellow and we are using the common. I would typically wrap these down the wire like this so that they're out of the way and never confused with the fact that they're even being used. So get those out of the way, strip this off. Actually a little more than that. You want enough so that it can actually bite but not be able to stick out of the grease capped nuts or grease packs that you're going to use. So in this case, you would unwire the common and then you would connect this with the set of commons so that this is all one. Now it's all one connection so that it supplies power from the common wire to the front yard, to the front yard, and then to the backyard. So this wire controls the entire system or powers up the entire system. Without this wire, everything goes down. Then we have the yellow wire. We will just connect to this yellow wire. There it is. I'm gonna say wire connector. Again, I'm not using the appropriate connectors because I'm basically in a shed and just making an example. If I was you, I would definitely use grease-filled or grease-filled connectors or grease packs so that they're weatherproof. This is not. All right, so now that that is connected, we have everything that is feeding this end already ready. So I'm going to push this out of the way and move on to what would be our backyard. So here we are, is what we will consider our backyard valve, assuming that it's actually in the ground when this one is not. All right, so in this case, all you do, you get out here. Since there's only a single one, it's very simple to wire up. if it's a single in the box, and this is not running out to something else, basically this wire goes to, it doesn't matter which one, it goes to one of these as a control wire. And the reason it doesn't matter is because this is just an electromagnet, so it's going to power up regardless of what direction the current is flowing. It's not unidirectional. In fact, it's actually AC current, so it's flowing back and forth in this anyway. So and that's interesting. I always thought it was DC when I first started, the very first year or so, until I threw a meter on it and went, oh, that's different. Anyway, the fact that this is AC current, it doesn't have any, or well, actually, even if it was DC, it wouldn't be a problem. With this being a solenoid, basically it's a coil of wire in here, and we're just powering it to be able to suck up the plunger that's in there. Anyway, that is now wired. All I did was just run the common and the control wire to be able to power the solenoid. Again, if you had to put the additional one, which would be the blue wire, the one that wasn't used, you would do the same configuration as the front yard, where you would just tie the other the common or a single wire to another valve onto this one, and have the control wire be the blue wire for the second one. It doesn't matter what the color code is. The color code is your choice. But like on the Precipmate app, the way that I explain it is I typically try to stick to a color code. In this case, I'm not sticking to the Precipmate app color code. I am just winging it so that I can show you how this is working. But when I'm doing a system, I stick to a color code so that no matter where I am in the property, I know what is what. If I know that specific ones, say for example, the blue and the yellow belong in the backyard, that's why I stick to a color code. So if you want to know more about this, download the Precipmate app. It may help you out. It would definitely help me out. So please like and share. I really could use your support on that. Have a good day.